Okay. Good evening, everyone. Happy you made it through a full week of classes now, and you are all still here and standing. So hopefully that's good news. I know it's been a busy fall quarter already for many, so I hope it's treating you all well. I'm going to go ahead, though, since we have the group here, and call this meeting to order at 5:02 p.m. on September 28th. And we'll go ahead and go through. Hopefully you all should have received a copy of the agenda that was sent out. Thank you for getting that sent out. And then also we do have access to the website now, which is amazing. So our things will be posted on there as they normally have been in the transition. It was locked down a little bit, but if you don't have it in your email, you can locate it on the S&A website. But I'm going to go through and start off with roll call and attendance. And so I'll just kind of go down the list we have here. Alice Williams is present. Xander Johnson is present. Nicholas Villa is present. Jared Osborne is present. And Jake Robinson is present as our elected members. And then obviously myself, Joey Bryant as advisor, Aaron Sargent as our Student Funds Financial Manager, and Mia Young as our admin support lifesaver note taker extraordinaire. So, and we'll have some guests popping in as well, but we have the full committee here. So thank you all for being here and on time. With that, I'm going to go ahead and entertain a motion to approve the agenda, which does correctly say deliberation and voting this week, since we missed that last week. So is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I motion to approve the agenda.
Motion from Xander. Thank you. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll make a second.
Second from Alice. Thank you, Alice. All those in favor, please raise hand or indicate with aye. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait one moment. Just in the okay. Any opposed? Oh no, looks like all 5 are in favor. Thank you, Jake. It's a slow waiting for the icon to pop up. So with that, the agenda is approved. Thank you all. I'll move on to approval of the minutes. And if you didn't see, I know Mia just sent out recently an updated minutes. I think there was a correction in there. And so we're going to be using those updated minutes. With that, is there any discussion or any other edits or updates to the minutes from last week's meeting anyone has? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the former meeting.
Thank you, Alice. We have a motion. Did anyone second the motion?
I'll second that.
I'll second that.
Ooh, Jake beat you to that one. Second from Jake. You were close, Xander. Thanks, Jake. Any discussion on it? Great. All those in favor, please indicate. Great, all 5 are in favor. Minutes are approved. We'll go ahead and move on to reports from advisors. The only report I have, again, I just want to say thank you all for last week. I know it was the first week of you all kind of hearing supplemental requests and appreciate the discussion you all had. I know also being a public meeting and knowing this is recorded, it can feel a bit intimidating, but I appreciate all of you were involved and engaged in that. And so really appreciate that. I do also want to make note, and as a reminder at this point, and maybe this will segue into an ASCW report update in a minute from Nick, but that we don't have another meeting scheduled at this point because we're waiting right now. Given that this was the ad hoc kind of group to come in for any urgent requests. Hopefully we'll have an update from ACW on the permanent appointment. I know each of you had indicated you'd be willing to serve for the summer committee as well as for the academic year. If that has changed and you're like, hey, no, I don't want to serve for the year, please reach out to Nick or me directly to let us know, because I think that'll be moving forward to the exec board, that and then the other open positions as well. So that is what I have at this time. Jared, do you have a question?
Yeah, I would like to not serve for a year.
We will note that in the minutes that you would like to not serve. With that, that's all that I have. Erin, do you have any advisor report or update for the team?
I don't have anything official, but congratulations on completing your first week of school, full week.
Yay. ASCWU report or update. Nick, anything from you?
Yes, so just speaking on what you just said, we'll probably be meeting next Thursday and voting on the S&A members. As well as this coming Monday, we do have our General Assembly for Student Government, ESC, and the Senate. So if you guys like to attend, it's going to be in the CERC Ballroom, 3 to 5. And that is all I have for dates.
Thank you, Nick. And for those who don't know, I mean, you all are appointed and serve there from ASCWU. The General Assembly is and we're doing it monthly this year, right, Nick? Monthly meeting. The monthly meeting of all the different branches of Central Student Government, as well as the Residence Hall Association coming together in one large meeting. And so definitely open for you all to attend those and check them out at any point. And just as an update, so people know process and aren't waiting on things, when we talk about the appointment piece for that, the process is Nick is the executive vice president, brings nominations to the executive board at an open public meeting. The board will vote to approve or deny requests for any committees in general. Once those get approved by the exec board, that information actually gets sent over to Mia in the student engagement and success to make sure that we check the grades and all those pieces. You all have already fallen into that because we did that for this, but it still gets sent there. And then the vice president actually sends out the formal, you are appointed to a committee at that point in time. And so with that all said, if everything moves quickly with the process, it'll probably be in 2 weeks when we would have our first meeting for the full year. And as I mentioned, when we did our brief training, those first meetings will be kind of a little bit of repeat for some of you. New members we may have will go be new for them, but also go in a little bit more depth for you all. So please keep an eye out for communication from Mia or myself as things move forward, and reach out if you have any questions. With that, I'm going to go ahead and move on to communications received. We did receive communication. It was in response to our outreach, but I want to make sure to share that. I did send it to you all the members. I know we have some guests here. Did send it to all the members, so you all have it, but I will verbally read it for the sake of the recording on here. As a reminder, this was in response to the outreach and questions we sent from last week's meeting, looking at and asking about the usage rates, utilization rates of the meeting spaces in the CERC, and what the process or feasibility of potentially utilizing those spaces for ASCWU's office staff usage. So with that in mind, the response back we got was from Cherie Wilson, who's the director of the Student Union Operations, and said, thank you for reaching out. Last year, the CERC meeting room spaces were used over 3,200 times by student clubs, departments, and outside groups throughout the year. Meeting room spaces in the CERC are at a premium. CERC meeting rooms produce revenue, which offsets the cost of the operational needs of the facility, which in turn reduces the fees CW students pay for in the CERC. And this isn't in there, but I'll say it to you all. That's specifically the sub fee, the student union fee that's paid by Ellensburg-based students. Logistically, we don't have any meeting room spaces located near the ASCW suite. This might be difficult if ASCW officers plan on working closely with the ASCW student staff. In order to convert a meeting room space into an office space, you need to present the recommendation to the Student Union Advisory Board. Consider sharing information such as what types of space constraints currently exist in the ASCW suite and why you're interested in expanding. Have you exhausted all your options of finding space within your suite? Do you have appropriate furniture to move into the space, i.e. adjustable desks, chairs? Would you need the space change in any way to convert to office spaces? And do you have the funding for this? Student Union Advisory Board will look at the impact of taking meeting room space offline. Some of the things they will need to discuss is what's the current square footage of the ASCW suite. The ASCW suite is currently the largest suite in the CERC at 3,340 square feet. How many student clubs and other groups will be displaced by losing a meeting room space? How much of a revenue loss will be made by by taking a meeting room offline, and what will be the impact of that loss? Will the space need to be remodeled and or painted? And does ACW have funding for these expenses? Will equipment need to be removed, i.e. data projectors, screens, furniture, etc.? I hope this information is helpful to the committee. Please reach out if you have any additional questions. So, and we'll discuss this when we get to the deliberation, but that was in response to that. Beyond that, that's the only communication I've received at this point to share here. We did, just so the group knows and it's on the record, we do have another supplemental funding request that will be presented during the regular S&A group when we meet in the fall. And so that is pending out there that we received from student media. But other than that, we did send out the usual welcome back notice to all of our S&A base funded units earlier this week, letting them know we're back, introducing them to me and Aaron so they're aware, and letting them know of a few of the normal housekeeping things that we share with them about that their annual financial reports are due December 1st. Program reviews are going to be looked at simultaneously this year, as was discussed last year, and we'll get into that with training, and asking that those be submitted by December 15th. And then also making sure and reminding them about to pay attention and be aware of the pending 10% reduction in allocation, and the S&A will be looking at and discussing that during fall quarter. So we did send that out to everyone and ask them to update us on contact info. We did receive some responses back to that, but nothing relevant for the committee at this time. Any communications you received, Aaron?
I do not think so.
Cool.
Yeah, I do not think so. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. I didn't think you did. I didn't want it to be a trick question. Anything on your end, Mia, that you received for the committee?
I have not received any communications for the S&A committee this week.
Awesome. With that, we'll go ahead and open it to first call for public comment. Is there any public comment? Great. Seeing none, we're going to go ahead. We have no new business. Again, all that we have is the old business, the deliberation, and then the voting on the 2 funding requests. And so we'll open it up specifically to start with, and I'll give a little bit of an overview for you all because I know it's the first time we've done this, but we'll start first with funding request 2401, which is the ACW Student Senate request for supplemental funding in $22,459. So the way that this works for you all is that it opens up to you all on the committee to essentially share your comments in either in favor or in opposition, or concerns you might have, or things that you all want to discuss amongst yourselves as a committee on the voting. Members who are present or individuals who are abstaining aren't allowed to chime in or provide information unless you all directly ask them a question. So just as a point for you all to know that. And our roles as advisors may be to help answer information or clarify things to assist you all, but please should not be viewed as influencing or having any weight one way or the other in any decision making. The one part I will say is things don't need to be repeated. So if Xander says something amazing that I agree with, I don't have to repeat the same thing. I can say, yep, I'm in agreement with Xander, but that's for the sake of being succinct. We don't need to repeat it. The one part that you do want to be mindful of is if it seems like the discussion from the committee is going one way and you feel you're going to be voting a different way, because this is an open and public meeting, we do want to make sure that you share your reasons for what you may be in disagreement with the current discussion, so that way when it comes to the voting, it is not unknown why you might vote differently than what was being discussed, if that makes any sense. So it feels like if everyone's in favor of a certain request and you're in opposition, you want to share that statement and the why behind it. One, because that may provide information for other members they weren't considering, but also from a transparency standpoint for presenters or for the student body that you all represent can understand why you went that way, or vice versa. It feels like everyone is opposed to a piece and you're like, well, I think this is a a great reason for this, so I'm going to vote in favor of it. You want to make sure to share that point. So with that, though, I'm going to turn it over and open the floor for discussion and deliberation amongst the committee. Is there any comments anyone wants to start off with? Yeah, Xander.
Again, I apologize, but I would like to clarify some of the rules here. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, can I just kind of talk, I suppose, as long as I ensure that other people have the opportunity to provide input?
Yes, absolutely.
Excellent. Well, then I would like to talk. I think that it's very important that we I intend to vote in favor of this request because I think that it's very important that ASCBDU receives the funding that they need for wages so that they can, pay their people so that they can work for us, the students. And I think that as a committee that represents the student body, I think it's very important that we act in support of the students, the voice of the students.
Thank you, Xander. Any other discussion? Jared?
So on this one, I think this would have been approved had the calculation been done correctly in the first place. So I don't see this as something that wouldn't have been approved originally. So, this isn't exactly like an extra cost or something that's being changed or added just to this calculation. So, in my opinion, I feel like this would have been approved prior to the last time we looked at this, and I feel like it's not going to be much different now.
Thank you, Jared. And I don't know if you saw, there is just a brief part on your end. It's a little difficult to hear on the mic. I could hear it, but it was very quiet, just so you know.
Yeah, I'm still on my headset, and I'm probably going to be for the whole meeting. So if you wouldn't mind repeating that so people get here, that would be great. But I'm going to try and do the rest of this meeting.
Okay, no worries. If anyone did need, and definitely correct me in the chat, Jared, if I say they wrong. For those who couldn't hear very well, Jared's kind of summary of his statement feels that this is consistent with what was already presented and voted on in the spring. And that really what this is if the correct calculation had been shared, this would have already been moved forward, and so feels in support of the request for Student Senate based on that. And I guess I should have said another point when I was giving you all the overview. If you all feel like, hey, nope, we've all said everything we need to do, someone does need to make a motion. Thanks, Jared, for confirming I got that summary right. And the motion can be, and we talked about this in training, but can be, I move to approve the funding request as presented. I move to deny the funding request, or I move to approve it at some modified amount, and usually you give a justification within those. So again, it is still open for discussion, deliberation, but I want to make sure you all know someone will have to motion. Xander, did you have your hand up?
Yeah. If there's no more discussion about this, as Jared said, I suppose it was already kind of discussed in the spring. I'd like to motion to approve it as it's currently stated, the request.
Yeah, I'd like to second that.
Perfect. A motion from Xander and a second from Alice to approve the funding request in its entirety. Is there any discussion on the motion? And for those, again, as a new process, I'm chiming in a little bit of training pieces here. This is where if there's specific questions asking about this, or again, if you haven't had the chance to share why you might be disagreeing with the motion, you can chime in here. But it's really specifically only discussion related to the motion itself. And there does not need to be, but we always leave that opportunity. So any discussion on the motion? Great. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and do a vote. All those in favor of approving the funding request as presented for ASCW Student Senate, please raise your hand. We have 4 in favor. Any opposed? And any abstaining? 1 abstention. So,
Which is a question.
Yep.
Beginning the conversation, do I just say abstained? And then that's it? Okay.
Yep. No, since you're a part of ACWU and benefit from the request. Yep. I appreciate that, Nick.
Okay. I just wanted to confirm.
Yep. So that's 4 in favor of the motion, 1 abstention. So the motion does pass. And again, for the sake of you all, and no, we haven't had this come up already, want to let you all know the process at this point is I will work with Aaron and we will be drafting and sending a memo up to Joel Clucking, University's CFO and Senior Vice President, saying S&A has motioned for the supplemental request. Knowing that it is under $25,000, we wait for Joel to respond back saying, yes, this is approved on my end, or no. If it's a no, it goes back to you all for further discussion. If it's a yes, then Aaron is able to work with, specifically this one with Student Senate, or any other supplemental on how to release those funds or access those. So just as a process piece for you all. So great. All right, with that, we'll move on to funding request 2402, ACW office furniture in the amount of $16,225. We'll go ahead and open the floor for discussion. And I guess I'll start this just because I know Cherie's not here, and I know I shared the statement because there's questions on that. And so if there's further questions, I'll make sure we get a chance to touch on it from here. But it sounds like really what was shared on there is that the spaces are used based on her response. It sounds like even opening up one of those spaces would not provide the furniture still, which is what the request is for. They would have to provide the furniture for those areas within that. So I don't know people's thoughts on it, but yeah, Xander, go ahead.
I hope that I'm not taking the opportunity from others away from others to speak. However, I feel that we got to approve this one too. I feel like that's very important, particularly because it was as long as I understand correctly, it was stated by Cherie, the Circ operations manager, that it would ACWU would have to sort of pay for that space and any renovations or remodeling that needed to be done. And so I think that first hurts ACWU, but second, it also hurts the Circ because that's a source of revenue that goes away, which doesn't solve the overall issue and just kind of makes the money come from somewhere else. So I think that it's completely reasonable for it to come from us so that they can furnish their office so that everyone can have a seat wherein they go to work or meet.
Thank you, Xander. And Aaron, I don't know if you have this off the top of your head. Do you recall, I know what was in here was the request of using funds they intended for this last year, but obviously with things that were shared by Nick and Malik last week, that didn't happen. Do you recall what the ACWU Board of Directors budget swept back that was unspent last year? Or at least was it more than the 16,000 that's requested, I guess? I know I put you on the spot and I'm like, I don't think you probably have the number right there available.
Right, and I'm at home. I definitely know that there was money swept back, and I can provide that. But it would have been, my assumption would be that it would have been probably close to this, but then they lost that supplemental funding that was approved as well. So, you know, whether or not you take the base funding sweep plus the supplemental funding that was approved and not swept, or you know, then I would, without having it in front of me, I would assume that would be more than this request.
Okay, thank you. And that's what I thought too, but I thought instead of me speculating, would ask you.
I'm gonna look that up tomorrow when I get back to my office, and if that's wildly different, I will you know, go on the record next meeting. And but I can't imagine because the money was approved, and then it just would have to be at least the amount of this request plus what they didn't spend through salary savings and open positions and unspent budgets.
Okay. Well, and just so you all know, and it won't be necessarily tomorrow, but that amount will show, because ACW is also base funded, as I mentioned, we sent the communication out. So when all those financial reports are due December 1st and you all start reviewing them winter quarter, you can easily see online total amount that was left for them and others. But still open for deliberation and discussion.
I mean, I agree with what Xander had to say about the response from, gosh, who was it? From the CERC accounting. We don't want to take from the CERC, but we also, also the committee, the ASCWU needs the space and supplies. So I personally, I'm leaning towards in favor of this request.
Thank you, Alice. Oh, and I'm going to share this. Okay, one sec. We have a comment in there, so I'm going to read this. And Jared, I'm assuming you put this here for the sake of me reading it, so I'm going to read it. This is a comment from Jared, knowing his headset. Jared shared, I was hoping we would have gotten space utilization percentage because 3,000 during meetings is a nice number, but it doesn't provide context for how many spaces there are or how the space is being used. For example, if a 5-minute meeting happens, does that count? If all meeting spaces are being used an average of 60% utilization, to make numbers up, for example, that can imply how much wiggle room there is in the building for this space appropriation idea. I don't think it can move forward without more information. So I think we should table it for now and approve the current. I think we should table it for now and approve the current proposal. Xander, go ahead.
I'd like to provide some context. I work for the Slice office, so I have a little bit of understanding about how scheduling works in the CERC. To my understanding, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because I'd hate to be providing incorrect information, but a meeting implies that the student group or the office or whomever is scheduling the meeting has booked the rooms through scheduling and has paid the requisite fees through scheduling. So it's very unlikely that you would have those 5-minute meetings. As was suggested, it's almost certainly club meetings, or sometimes offices like Slice will rent the CERC or rooms in the CERC like 137 for events. So it's, when it is utilized, it's utilized for student activities.
Thank you, Zan. Any other discussion on specifically the supplemental funding request for the office furniture?
I'd like to, as long as there's no other discussion, I'd like to motion to approve the request in its current form.
You can totally make that motion. There's a motion from Xander to approve the funding request in the full amount. Alice?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Second from Alice. Any discussion on the motion? Great. Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the motion, please indicate. 4 in favor. Any opposed? I'm assuming Jared's hand is still up. He only gets 1 vote. And any abstentions? 1 abstention. So the motion passes, 4 in favor, 1 abstention. Again, same process I shared earlier with you all. I do want to thank you all just in general for the conversation and discussion. I know, like I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, these are always put you all in a difficult spot, but really appreciate your all's thoughtfulness and willing to engage and talk through ideas and alternatives. So definitely applaud you for that. With that, though, we have exhausted our old business. So I will move on to second call for public comment. Is there any public comment? Nope. Thanks, Michelle. The only part I'll put in here is as a brief public comment before we adjourn is, again, I really appreciate your all's willingness to come together and meet for the brief trainings and meetings we've had summer / the start of fall quarter. And hopefully all of you are still interested in serving throughout the year, and we can get that hopefully approved by the board here soon and get our things up and running, because definitely excited for what we have ahead of us this year. But thank you all immensely. Seeing no other public comment, I'm going to go ahead and entertain a motion to adjourn. The cat's somewhat trying to get a focus. Oh, there's the cat focus. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting? Oh, Xander, thank you.
A motion to adjourn our meeting.
Motion from Xander. Is there a second? We see you, Jared.
Seconded. Yeah, that's Jared behind me.
Second from Alice. With that, is there any opposition to us adjourning the meeting? Great. Seeing none, we will call the meeting at 5:33 p.m. Thank you all again immensely. Appreciate your thoughtfulness. If there is any questions or anything that comes back from Joel, we'll reach out to you all. Otherwise, definitely please keep heads up in your emails from something from either myself or Mia in the near future. Otherwise, have a great evening all. Good luck the next couple weeks.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.